Oh, great. Hey, everybody. Thanks for your patience. I need to mute myself so I'm not talking in my own ears.
That would probably
We,
be a good thing.
yeah, I know. So we had some new stuff that we're setting up. It looks great. Thank you so much, you two, for making this beautiful new home for us to talk about our stuff. We're so happy to be here.
So
Thank you.
happy!
Very
Yeah.
happy. Very, very happy.
You can see us now.
Yeah.
We're hiding in pajamas. Not that I
I
did
just
that.
need to bring up the channel.
Aw, thank you, Koichi Waifu.
Who are the people I'm following? I'm not even
Okay.
showing my own stream.
So
Project
we've
Stanley.
got a whole bunch of great stuff
Oh.
for you.
The way you're talking, I can't help
Yeah,
it.
sorry. I'm just we
You,
discovered at the
you
very
catch up
last
on
minute
chat.
that like two-factor authentication on Twitch was a thing for the stream keys, so we had to like hurriedly reset passwords and get stream keys out to get this thing live. Thank you so much for waiting for us. October stream, all about gameplay. That's what we promised you, and that's what we're doing. Except we still have some really cool new art stuff that we want to share. So that's what we're going to kick things off with because
Art? Oh, jeez.
I know, but everybody loves it.
The
And
two turntables I just downloaded.
yeah, are they ready to go? Or
Yeah.
So let me switch to.
Don't OGs the art, okay? It's probably one of the more important things in this
What?
project. So.
What?
Did the whole page just refresh for everybody else?
What whole page?
Twitch is doing some new. Okay, no, it's just me. Totally fine.
Okay, deliver fancy. Yeah. So we're delivering fancy on a platter.
So can I talk a little bit about like the characters that we have been working on? Like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Is anybody else having this dialogue repeating issue that Serafina is talking about? Just in case we need to like dramatically fix things.
What repeating?
Okay. Sounds like it's on your end. Good luck, friend.
Okay, anyway,
Yeah,
so I just want to like quick update. Our team is always amazing. We have a few things going on right now, as always. But recently, Geist has been modeled, and his model is done, and it looks amazing.
You want me to bring it up?
And,
I have it right here.
Yeah. The only thing we don't have is Mr. Spookums, Minion, whatever. But it's really awesome. The only thing we don't have is like really him in engine with like the shaders on him, but he's looking really good. There you go. Look at that. He's beautiful.
Yeah, that is pretty beautiful.
Potato, our amazing character modeler / only character modeler, and he just is so good at matching that style. It's incredible.
Only need one if he's that good.
Yeah, I guess.
Look at that. He's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Dude, he is beautiful. Hopefully you guys are hyped with him.
Yeah, like I've been watching like Pat make this, and it's just every time I would see him work, he was like, "Oh, this is so much easier than R4," and it made me laugh.
Yeah.
But
Char's gonna hold his hand. Oh, geez.
I mean, Pat does a lot of like, what is it, Pat? You do like high poly, go back and low poly, make like the final model, edit it again, high poly, and texture it. So basically, it takes forever because 3D is the worst / best at the same time. But he uses a lot of ZBrush
and Maya, right?
Yeah, and then he paints the textures in Photoshop. Like we mostly do like hand painted textures for everything. So it's just. It more closely matches Gigantic, and I just like.
Oh, he's
it's
so
just
shiny.
the look that we wanted to go with.
I love me some purple.
Clearly, it works.
Yeah, Pat's been like learning VFX because he's like, I'll put like the fire into. I'm like, Pat, you don't have time to do it.
But don't stop modeling, Pat.
You can't stop ever. But do you want to show the next one?
Yeah,
Okay.
give me a second.
So let me preface this by saying Kira has been, an amazing project to work on slash
Cannot
figuring out a lot of
play.
things.
Oh well, unless Pat wants to send me a new one, I can't play the Kira turntable. It looks like.
What?
Oh,
Oh no.
okay.
Okay.
Shit. Well, okay. I'm just gonna keep talking then.
I'm gonna try again. Oh, it's an MPG file. Does that make instead of MP4?
If it's there, you should try opening it. See what happens.
Oh, I just did. The file is not playable. The file play is actually, let me try VLC. See if it'll let me do it in that.
Why don't
So,
you always use VLC?
Oh my god.
I don't know.
So these files are like pretty big. That's why we're kind of having like a little bit of weird issues with them. But
Okay, good. Live desktop back on. Oop. So
Working?
play and loop.
here we go. Okay, so you get to see ZBrush, courtesy of Pat. So this is Kira, looking amazing, concept by our amazing Tart. This is not her final form, aka not her final model, but it is pretty much the proof of concept finished sketch that Pat has made.
So smug.
So.
She looks
He's
so
like, yeah,
smug.
this is just a sketch. And you're like, okay, Pat, whatever. But you can see like her tail's not done and there's like still a little to do. But look at that pose. It really captures the character.
Got a
She looks
whole
so
mug of
good.
smug.
I love it so much. She's holding one of her bombs and
Yeah.
she's just really cool. Good job, Pat.
How can you say
Good
no to
job.
this, guys?
But
So
next
you're
time
gonna
you guys...
boop the snoop? Or,
Oh yeah.
how do you
Next
say
time
it?
you guys see her, she's definitely going to be textured and done, and we'll probably have her running around the game. But yeah, great progress in terms of character modeling. So yay, we're getting closer to having 5 done.
And
Isn't
if
that cool?
anyone wants to know how Matt models and all his setup, it's right there. So copy him, guys.
It can copy all his million layers and ridiculous use of ZBrush.
Pacifist, you are in the overwhelming majority of demanding a bushy tail on this adorable, terrifying.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like
I can imagine like her
so
bushy tail
long.
being like burnt in spots.
But it's just like Pat is taking this awesome concept art Tart's been doing, and he really matches it perfectly. And I'm in the nice position of being able to like look over and be like, that's not right. As I do. I'm like, fix that ear. But he did it, and he's great.
Wow. That was very loud. So what did we want to switch on to next? I mean, we can just keep showing her the entire stream. I don't think anyone will really mind.
So this is the majority of the artwork that we have to show for this stream. Part of it was after an entire summer of carrying us. Like, yes, the art team's backs are strong and mighty, but they still need a break. And there's been some really cool stuff happening in our art team's worlds that we wanted to just call out as being fantastic and kind of give you an idea as to why some of the projects that you've been looking forward to seeing progress on haven't moved forward very far. The Notch, the assassin that you saw last stream, doesn't have any significant movement because the concept artist leading work on that has landed 2 new jobs in the field and moved from wherever he was before to Boston, and that eats up a ton of time. And I just wanted to say that this is like one of the things that we're really trying to keep a focus on as a volunteer hobby project is the opportunity to help to use this project to help our people propel their professional careers in the fields that they're interested in. So like Jacob has been doing amazing work on Project Stamina, and I think he's been showing off some of that stuff in his portfolio. And with that progress, he with that like updated portfolio and just being an amazing, dedicated, hardworking artist in general, he's had some really amazing opportunities outside the project. And our philosophy as an organization is that family and personal life and like the needs beyond the project always come first. So when amazing opportunities present themselves in our team's lives outside of the project, work slows down a little bit on their specific stuff. Fortunately, there's kind of a ton of us at this point, so we have really great work happening elsewhere in the project. Um, do you guys have the thing for the map ready to show, or do you just want to show it later on in the stream?
The fly through for the map.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
when I told you I recorded it today? It was laggy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like
So you
stuttering
guys,
through.
okay. Well, the
I mean, I,
recording
I
didn't go so
can
well.
I can do a personal fly through right now.
Well,
Um,
that's been your guys' work. If you want to show it off, like by itself, that's
We've been
here's your
doing a lot of
platform.
stuff for the
Yeah.
map. So,
where is it?
and
Okay.
like there's another project that we have one of our artists, Kezi, working on right now that
We're gonna talk about that at the end of the
I just
stream.
want to talk about it right now.
I know, but we're gonna talk about it at the end.
All right.
Um,
Basically, people are doing a lot of awesome stuff, and
yeah,
I have
oh,
it
the
up.
map!
I have it up.
Woo!
yeah. So this is in engine. We're just gonna do a quick fly through of all the work that's been happening. If you remember from a couple of
Yeah, it's a
streams
little
ago,
laggy on
all
their
these
end.
rocks were like brown and tons of it was untextured.
Some
Yeah.
of it is still untextured, but that's beyond the point.
I mean,
And for
look at
everyone
it.
calling out
Look
that it
at it.
looks a whole lot like Gigantic's first map, that's kind of deliberate. We really want this game to feel like coming home, and this is what home looks like to us.
Actually, this is what home looks like to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Except for I'm missing all my greens. They went poof.
but yeah, Trin and I have been working really hard on getting this map kind of like looking good, and it's a lot of pieces and a lot of kind of like, you know, I have my wall of gigantic inspiration in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, I want it to look like that. So, you know, influence is there.
I mean, look at that. If it wasn't lagging, you could actually see the parallax really well.
Oh, we can
Yeah.
see it. That looks great. That is an enormous rib cage.
So I would say like this is still like an early version of the map. You know, we are filling it in, and stuff is going to change as we're like, oh, this geometry doesn't work for this. It's missing all of its props. You know, it's missing like foliage. But I think the basic building blocks are finally.
And the way that it's constructed, and this is one of the things that excites me so much about the whole thing moving forward and kind of tying this into gameplay, is that as we discover how people are using the map's geometry to play, if we find any areas that say make a certain character or character type really strong, or there's some, oh good, we got the textures on Gerbilbirdle.
Gurgle burgle.
Oh yeah,
Gurgle.
that's the first thing I made in the map when I was like, I'm tired of rocks.
Hey, I
So
can't get
this
enough of
map
rocks.
is for our like quick play team deathmatch mode. It's not that big, so there's a lot of fighting. And we're really excited to see how people play in it as we start getting more characters in, because the way that it's all constructed makes it really easy to. Yep, that's a close up of an eye. It makes it really easy for us to move the geometry around and change how the map flow works so that we can do map alterations in the course of a patch with as much ease as changing character strengths and weaknesses. So that's something that we're looking forward to in like as we start getting balance and gameplay testing rolling, is the ability to do that. And setting that up took a lot of time, but having built the process that lets us do that means that in the future we have a lot of balancing capabilities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's far from done, guys. It's far from done. Me and Falco are not happy yet. I mean, we're pretty happy with it, but we're not
Well,
like,
I'm
damn.
freaking stoked. So you guys have impossibly high standards of your own work, I guess. That's kind of the artist's dilemma.
Oh man, every time I was like, "Oh, Trin, I think I can work on this. Like tonight, I'll try to get you all these things." And then I'm like, get to like midnight, and I'm like, "Okay, no, I lied. I can only do one of those things."
You work so hard. You work so hard, Falco. Speaking of like awesome evidence that this whole volunteer game dev strategy is working, Falco, you have an amazing job in game dev that are now super interested in the work that you do. So, congratulations. You've
Thanks,
had that
man.
for a while, but I'm just so happy that our team is getting opportunities to further their careers.
You know, it's a good thing when you get to talk about the hobby project you're working on in interviews. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the whole plan. All right, so you're going to see more of this map in a little bit. I've got a whole script here, and I'm wondering if I need to go through it. So, as we said, this is going to be about gameplay. Like, this is the gameplay stream that you've been waiting for. We gave you the art. We showed you some of the cool stuff that's been happening. That's a good question, Final Pixel. We'll tell you when it's in. Do I need to read this, guys?
Read what?
Oh, should I start like looking at questions?
Oh, I thought we were going to go to gameplay first.
Yeah, no, Q&A is going to be after gameplay.
I mean, it is all about gameplay.
I wrote a thing. I'm going to read it. No, I'm not. So, in short, the art streams have been all about showing you everything that we're doing in the world of art, because it's really easy to say, okay, we drew this, and then we drew this, and then we drew this. Gameplay is, like, unlike being a big canvas where you can look at everything with art, gameplay is it's kind of like an iceberg where you only see the tip of it. And so much of what we've been doing has been invisible work. Like, when you're playing a game, you don't ever see the code. You don't ever see the servers or the server build of the game.
You don't see the programmers that are slaving away every day.
Right. Like,
crying
it's
at
really easy
night.
to look at 10 hours of art and say, oh, that looked like 10 hours of work.
Surprise! It was really 20 hours with 10 hours of just crying.
I think that's how. Oh yeah, Trex is in here with us. Trex, is that like?
Oh yeah.
Kind of, sort of like what you do at night.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Mostly. So that's an early introduction. The gameplay that we showed in our early streams was very much our prototype build, which we constructed not to be anything resembling a final game, but to be the fastest, most efficient way to test the fundamental structures of our servers, of our netplay environment, of all the different, like, unique things that our game would need to be viable. And once the prototype was at a point where we could verify that we could do netplay, that we could do all the like
all the goodies
programming, the like underside of the iceberg programming that we need to make this game viable, we burnt it all down and used it as a template to build an entirely new engine, which is what needed to happen in order to hit the point where the game can be quickly constructed in a way that is sustainable and scalable. And I didn't do any of that work, so I probably shouldn't be the one to talk about it. With us is our technical director, who we didn't set up a fancy little camera frame for, but maybe next time.
Yeah, ran out of time this time.
Trex, take it away, Trex. Tell us about what you've been doing.
You want me to bring up gameplay while we're doing this?
Yeah, and let's get into the game and show off what it looks like.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, my name is Rob. I've been working with Project Stamina now for quite a bit. I think I first got involved almost a year ago. I believe it was like around Christmas time. I originally was brought in to work on the launcher, which I did. It still exists in a relatively stable form. Quickly got sort of sucked into the engine. Didn't even really want to, if I'm being totally honest. But I said,
You
okay,
guys want
I'll
to
give
make
it a
it so they
shot.
can queue us? Sorry,
Yeah,
Trex.
I'm in the I'm in the queue. So I worked a little bit in the engine, and then they sort of came to me as Fancy was just saying. He's like, we're really in a prototype stage right now, and we need to be in like an alpha stage. We need to be in a stage where like we can scale the game really. So
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
yes. So as he said, yeah, we have virtually torn down almost every aspect of it. It's sort of like I forget what this is called. It's like the philosophy thought experiment where like if you replace every single part of the wooden boat down to like the last
Q
splinter.
pop. Q pop.
Oh yeah, that's me. I got it. I got
Look
it.
at this. Our
Sorry.
freaking programmer is ruining it for us.
Oh my
Yeah, yeah,
god.
It's
yeah.
okay. It's his first time on
Oh,
stream.
Yeah, I'm managing two
um,
computers here.
that just kicked me out.
We messed up.
Oh no.
No.
All right, let's make sure we're all using the same version.
I should be using the latest version. I just tested it earlier.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't.
just downloaded
Oh,
it.
fancy.
It might have been me. I've been messing up my tests a lot.
Some of our team, if you guys want to download the build while we are doing this, you guys want to, because it's going to take you a while to download that, Fancy.
No, I think I have the latest version. I might have just launched the wrong one.
Okay. Well, I'm in queue.
Yep, me
Yeah,
too.
what is the latest version number?
89.
Yeah,
Yep,
8-9.
that's me. All right, let me queue
Well,
again.
I saw you queue right into the map. Trex.
Oh yeah, right.
I
I'm
love that.
ready.
Like, we build up this suspense. Everything's going.
At least they get to see the UI again. That's really all that matters.
This
Well,
UI is so good.
yeah, the UI is actually getting quite a bit of updates in the back end. What?
Okay, this is
That might be
a
me.
surprise.
Give me 1 second. That shouldn't be. Close. Project Stamina. 8-9. That might have been me. Whoops.
Well,
Aye.
it worked when it worked before the stream.
No, I think I did the wrong one. I think that was me. I
Oh,
have
okay.
two versions up there on my
All right,
desktop.
so okay, let's keep trying. Trex, you were talking about how we've been rebuilding the boat one piece at a time.
Sure, yeah. So so we have virtually torn down all of the prototype
Thank you.
code at this point. We have replaced it all with fully scalable systems. Like, so to get an idea, like, I'm a grown-up software engineer, right? So I'm coming at this project sort of in the reverse way that many of the others are, where I was more brought on for the experience that I have, not so much the experience that I'm looking to gain. Although I'm not a game dev by trade, I work in like the web world. So yeah, we have rebuilt virtually every system in the game to be scalable, to continue to work well into like alpha, beta, etc. And I can say that it's built to like a professional quality at this point. I know it just didn't work, and I'm saying that,
What
but
happened?
yeah. To be honest, I don't know. I've been at work all day. I don't know necessarily what's going on with the builds here, but
No, it's loading now, so it should be good. That was me,
Sorry, my
guys.
stream just froze, so I was like, oh no.
I done messed up. So if you guys want to put F's in chat for me, that'd be wonderful, because you know that you know. It takes a
Oh, the
while.
suspense is killing me.
This is
Someone put
this
F
is
Falco.
it's cool loading.
Okay.
You can keep talking, Trex.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's not really boding well for me right now.
So if you guys want to like throw stakes and pitchforks and torches, there's your guy. It should be good. Famous last words.
How do I do the not like this emote?
I guess that's just programming for you. Sometimes it just takes one little thing and it doesn't work.
You want me to quit out and try to re-queue?
Yeah, I just did.
Alright.
So, welcome to the testing environment. These things happen, and sometimes these things happen for no good reason.
Yeah, I was just in
We're gonna keep
here
working
an
on it.
hour ago.
Yeah, like we literally tested this build a couple hours ago.
If
And it
anything,
was
I'll just
fine.
jump into the engine and do something if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
There we go. It's okay, like Skyrim, give it an hour. I love it, Zay. Alright, so you guys inside the queue? There we go.
Yeah.
Pop.
Our new sound guy. Actually, have you announced that yet? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
It's working.
Oh, by the way, guys.
Oh man, it's so cool.
And like, yeah, we know that the life bars are still visible across the map. We'll fix that.
It's a feature. No.
But like
That's it
right now,
forever.
it helps us figure out where people are.
Oh yeah. So all the animation, the movement animations are in. No ability animations are in right now.
Yeah, and this is about what the game is going to look like during the alpha. We're focusing on getting the ability animation or the movement animations in first, so that our animators can get a lot of time to get to know the models and the nuances of the character. And then also it means that our gameplay developers have more time to test abilities, like
Here,
what they
let
look
me
like,
let me
how
see
they
if
move.
I can get rid of that motion blur for you guys.
Like I know on stream it looks like it's lagging, but playing it right now it feels really
There we go.
smooth.
It is so
I
smooth.
think I got it. Is that a lot better for you guys? Yeah, that is a lot better. I just saw it on my phone.
Seeing Fan run around textured on a textured map is just like I'm gonna cry.
Hey Trin, where are you? I can run up and we can look at Fan's face. Matani, her name is Matani.
Yeah, Matani. Jeez, guys.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, the speed boost.
Yep.
There's a lot of Matanis.
Yeah, and like there's, obviously like the animations, like there's some tuning that needs to be done and they're not all in, but I mean, I have to say for like a beginning kind of thing, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
It's got that flowy movement.
Yeah, so this is what we're gonna look like with all of our characters for the alpha. The like red and green shapes that you see on the screen are the hit volumes for attacks. And we'll probably like clean those up to make them a little bit more unique per character and visually comprehensible. But the idea behind this is to focus on getting our characters like movement animation just right before moving on to their abilities. Because one, like so much of this game is about movement. We really want that to look super clean. And two, it gives our developers and our designers more time to really balance and tune what a move looks like, what a move does and how it feels and how it fits with the rest of the kit before we start sinking resources into animating it. So like say we come out with a character that has a move that just doesn't fit with their kit, and we tune it and we tweak it and we balance it, and it keeps not fitting with their kit. This gives us tons of time to make that discovery before we spend our resources animating that move and then discovering that it just doesn't work. So this gives us a lot more flexibility with character balance and design overall. So this is our plan for the alpha, is to get characters implemented one at a time with all of their movement, and then abilities that look like this to actually test gameplay.
Oh yeah, the focus bar right now actually doesn't show, so I wonder. Boom!
Yep.
She's used her alt.
Ooh.
Oh, errors.
Yeah, so her alt has that cool knockback. It works. It's fun.
There we go.
We do want to set up some like physics-based animation for her hair. That's like a whole different thing that our animators have to do that is different than the like hand-done animation for her movement. But, you know, it'll get in there. Just one thing at a time, you know? We still need to work on... Oh, they have her back dodge, too. I didn't realize that that went in. That's great. You know, there's like a couple of things that need to be done here and there. But overall, this is something that we're really happy with. And this is what the game looks like. So, Trex, why don't you tell us a little more about what we're seeing here? Like, what is happening in the back end, and why has it taken so many months to make the game move and feel this smooth?
Yeah. So part of it is that, you know, like I said, when I first joined, we're mostly in like a prototype phase. So like you can think of, you know, the whole project also in the way you might think of like the life of like a startup, right? You know, you get in like this conundrum as a startup where it's like, okay, you have, you know, an idea for something and you're not going to really be able to bring it to life until you have money, right? Well, to have money, you need to get an investor, and to get an investor, you need to have something, right? So you kind of get in this like back and forth place, right? So normally what ends up happening at this point is that you can have some people who are experienced who can come in and say, well, okay, you don't have to pay me, or you don't have to pay me much, or whatever, but, you know, I'll work like for equity, right? So, you know, in this case, it's more like creative equity. In other words, like I'm really invested creatively in the project. And so I'm willing to sort of like devote a lot of otherwise professional time to it. So where we're at with the prototype is more or less each hero, each system was sort of just built independently by, you know, different programmers throughout the lifetime of the project, things like that. And so there was not a lot of like, let's call it like shared resources going on. So like, for example, something right, like when I first started, you know, you could have a bug that exists on Quick Draw, let's say, that does not exist on Fan. And that's because Quick Draw and Fan existed almost completely independently of each other, right? Now, every single character you see here, every future character, every minion, every guardian or equivalent, anything that, you know, interacts in the game, all shares the same system, right? You interact with everything in the same way. So while it can be fast at first to scale something by like making individual characters one-off and whatever you can probably get, which is what we had, 3 or 4 characters very quickly off the ground, you will not be able to get to like 10 characters, right? You'll not be able to scale like, oh, we're going to put in like 5 new creatures, right? Because it's a lot of work for each one. So we have a system now where everything, you know, scales off of itself. Similarly, our abilities I think we have like QA later. I can probably get more into the technicals on the abilities, but all the abilities have a very, very robust, scalable API now. Creating a new ability, very easy. Leveraging existing what would you call them, like ability effects, very easy. You know, if you ask me to spin up an ability that, like, I don't know, puts a circle on the ground and if you run over it you get sped up or something, that can be done in like 30 seconds now, right? Things like this. All of our attributes are all shared amongst everyone, right? Mostly just, you know, your standard scaling stuff. So
Yeah, you guys have been doing a ton of work, and it definitely shows.
yeah, everything you see now will scale incredibly, like what you're seeing right now is really just the first character that we've made in this new system. The ability to scale up more is going to be very not costly in terms of very cheap in terms of like programming man hours, because you do the work once and you don't have to do it ever again, mostly.
Yeah, and every time you have to do something completely new and novel, it becomes a tool that we have forever that we can just Lego brick into
Yes.
place. Once we have it.
Exactly. Like we have right now, it's in a prototype stage, but we have like an auto aim assist. I'm not really sure we would call that module. Similar to like in Overwatch, the like, who am I thinking of? Like the Zenyatta orb, it'll like home on someone. We have a system for that. But yeah, like one of my very first
We don't even
agenda.
have a character for that mechanic yet.
Yeah, well, I think Fan uses it a little bit on her RMB to leap to ally.
Oh, yeah, okay.
A little bit. It's a very minor use of it, but like one of our first agenda items is just like completely modularizing that, right? Like meaning that like, so, you know, we could always have any new hero, highly customizable, could use that feature in some new and creative way.
I'm just having so much fun just like jamming on the queue because there's no cooldowns right now, so you just go flying through the map.
Oh yeah, it is quite fun. Yeah, it's set up so she can get hit by it also, so it's not just her. It's not just the other heroes that get hit by it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you've got this like speed buff that you throw, and then if you run into it,
there's the 10-minute thing.
Yeah, so we've got the game set on a 10-minute timer, just to keep the server from burning itself out. Anyway, so that's what the game looks like. We're gonna move on into Q&A here.
And I just have to say the movement just feels really fun. Like it feels really good. And I know that it's not its final form, and I'm excited.
Yeah. We I mean, literally, we cracked open the source code of Unreal Engine 4's character controller component, I should say, and like wrote some of our own custom stuff inside of it. Like that's how dedicated we are to like the movement, and that movement feels responsive even at very high latencies.
When did we get this art of Fan?
I was just gonna say that.
That was like a last minute 1 hour thing that I asked Kezzy to do. I was like, Kezzy, are you doing anything really important right now? And he says, he's
good call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to beat Kezzy, you beat him later.
And yes, Jacob, the so we have her face rigged, but we haven't done any like facial animation yet because, let's be real, that's super low priority compared to walking. No, her name is Matani. We keep calling her Fan because we're just so used to what she was.
Yeah, her name is Matani.
Let's roll into Q&A. So, you guys have the doc pulled up? Because we even prepped some answers this time around.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what. Sorry. Where do we want to start?
I had to do that.
Stream starts in 4 minutes.
No, I had to do that to pull up the other thing because I had the Twitch stuff. Pull up the other thing because I had the Twitch stuff. Oop. You did not want to hear that.
The fan art. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
It was done by Kezzy. Those who are asking.
That is a really great question that we didn't get in our Q&A. So let's kick it off with one from the stream. King Stitch says, what sort of work have you all done on netcode for hit prediction, rollback, interpolation, etc.? Trex?
Yeah, so yeah, one of the big things that we will spend days on a minute detail for is that we want as much client prediction as we can get out of the game. And so I know one of the questions later was about the game playability system, so I can go more into that. But basically, we use a module called the game playability system, which was relatively recently exposed to Unreal Engine by Epic. And so this is the same. It's basically like a a way of reasoning about like an ability in a game, meaning basically like an action that occurs over the network. But it's very, very robust. It allows for client prediction. It allows for very just sort of easy ways of reasoning about abilities as well. But it's the same system that Fortnite uses, that Paragon used. And
Rip.
so it's what allows us to have a really responsive, almost, well, in many cases literally feels just like a single player game even at high latencies.
Okay, that answers that. We have. Okay, I really like this question. Somebody asked, "Is there a place that we can donate for besides Patreon?" We have a merch store. Check out projectstamina.com and buy a T-shirt or something. If you don't want to engage with Patreon for whatever reason, then that's the way to do it. Okay.
I gotta get a link to that real quick.
Yes. Do we want to start off with the first question?
Yeah.
Falco
yeah,
is
let's...
blue, so Falco, do you want to
Okay.
ask?
Yeah, sorry. I'm blue. Babadita. Okay. Any new characters in the works?
Not at this time. We're still putting polish on the ones we have. We're planning on using as few characters as possible to test early game balance and get our base gameplay structures online. And then once we feel like we've got a very baseline set of characters in a good place, we're going to start adding to the roster.
And I forgot. I should give people credit. That was by Recoil Rick 6503. So
Yes.
thanks for the question.
Alright, so the next one was by a nameless person that goes by 6920, I guess, in Discord. Hi, I'm a newcomer to Project Stamina, but I was a player in Gigantic, and I miss the game a lot. Know you guys do too. Yes, we do. I wanted to ask if you guys are planning to include a hook character in the game, either as a support or carry character like Wu. Also wanted to know the name of the finished... Oh, he also wanted to know what the name of the finished game would be, and he wishes the team best and hope to come to fruition. Cheers from Singapore. Wow. Yeah. Tongue twister. That's a big one.
Awesome.
The hook and pull archetype has been a classic since Pudge in original Dota. I think that the hook is a really powerful skill shot function, and it's an important litmus test for game balance. Like, if your game can't balance around a hook and pull, then what else is wrong with your game? We don't have one in the works right now, but it's such classic design space that I feel like we'd be leaving good design on the table if we never got up.
Alright. So next one by you, Phil.
Oh,
Nope, that one's
it's in
also
green. Excuse me.
Yeah, that
You're
one's
right.
also
Oh, it is green. Okay, by a Panda Sniper. How many characters do you have planned for launch, and do you plan on creating a pet class? Woof.
Okay,
Woof.
so thank you, Panda Sniper. He is one of our patrons. Thank you. We are planning on... So for launch, we don't know. Like, launch is on the other side of beta, and we don't have a timeline for beta because we're not in alpha yet. But for our alpha, we're looking at 6 characters, all of whom have been announced. And we're going to use those to test how stats per level feels as a system, and then build the architecture for our leveling up, for our level up and progression. And when we're happy with that and we've got our core game mode online, is when we're going to start adding more characters. We've got plans for the next 2 batches of 6 characters, but they're like very nebulous. These are the kinds of areas of design space we want to play in, not specifically designed characters yet.
All right. Awesome answer, Fancy. Hold on. I have a really long one to read. Okay. This one's by Old Rago. Probably said that wrong. That's fine. Okay. Gigantic's gameplay is largely based on the concept of a 3-dimensional MOBA, and a lot of its design choices stem from this fact. How is Project Stamina going to delineate its core concepts from Gigantic's gameplay? Specifically, are you planning on adding any other concepts from MOBAs and tweaking them in order to accomplish this goal? Otherwise, what games inspired you when thinking about Project Stamina's core gameplay concepts besides Gigantic?
Okay, so as you can see from the gameplay, we're trying to keep very close to Gigantic structure in terms of movement, verticality, ability to use, game flow. The changes that we are making to the original Gigantic systems are more in the realm of subtle, less visible systems like armor and other stats. The armor system that we're using is based on Dota 2's diminishing returns model, which has been like a tried and true, well functioning system for years now. So, like, why reinvent the wheel when we have one that works? And one of my personal inspirations for how we set up our character design structure is actually based on Magic the Gathering's design process and how they design new sets and segment out the color pie to make sure that no one archetype can do too many things or is too restricted from having access to viable options. In terms of other like actual systems, we're really excited to see what we can learn from Apex Legends ping system when we start implementing ping and chat into the game. But that's the short list. One of the things that's really incredible about this team is we have so many people that play so many different games, really with the same kind of passion that all of us play Gigantic. So we have a really broad perspective that we can draw from as a team when we start looking at how to do a certain thing the best way possible. I'm going to pull a question from the chat really quick because it's an easy one. Yoko the Fox says, one of your far future goals to be hopefully achieve a spot in esports. I have strange and complicated feelings about esports. I think that games that push themselves too hard to get into esports tend to lose sight of what makes the game fun for its players. I would want an esports scene to develop from player initiatives that, as they gain traction, would receive support from the organization rather than try and do it from the top down, because it's just so hard to deliver what the players want from a competitive scene without putting player efforts at the center of it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel
answer.
about esports without
Good
talking
answer.
about advertising bubbles and investment money that doesn't seem to go anywhere.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, like, I don't know what esports is going to look like in a couple of years, so I don't want to speculate too hard about what our place in it is going to be. If we wind up with millions of players and they want to throw tournaments and they are giving us enough money that a tournament is a viable thing that we can do, then, like, hell yes. But it's got to, like, desire for it has to come from the players, because otherwise we're just trying to shoehorn something in for advertising money. It's not what we're about.
And we need our game to be able to actually like support that and have options for people, like everything they want. Like,
yeah, we got to build the tools to make esports viable first, but those tools are things like custom games, spectators, replay analysis, analytics, and that's all stuff that we're building for the players. And if you want, dear fans and followers, if you want esports, like, it's possible, but we're not going to drive that train because we're here to make a game. And if it becomes esports, that's cool. If it becomes a niche game that just has a dedicated following forever, that's cool too, because we're making this game because we want to play it. Okay, next question from the forum.
All right, so Final Pixel asks, the impact in uses of extra focus, or what are, I would have to say. Yeah.
So one of the things, so this kind of touches back on that question about changes that we're considering to Gigantic's gameplay as it was. One of the changes, one of the systems that I always felt was kind of awkward, and this was agreed upon by some members of the higher level Gigantic competitive community. Philco, please don't correct me on being wrong here, because it's going to make my point a whole lot less stable.
I will try.
Okay, is like the focus resource felt kind of strange to use. As you gain focus, you didn't have control over how much of it you spent. and your ability to use your alt was at odds with your ability to upgrade control points on the map. And it all felt kind of awkward trying to figure out how to use that resource. And it was, thank you for that excellent point, Quishinini. It wasn't very clear for new players. And that is one of the systems that we're really trying to work out some of the kinks in. We have some ideas. We haven't gotten a chance to test them with any. We haven't had a chance to test our ideas yet. And so until we've had the opportunity to play around with some of the potential directions we can take it, we're not going to talk about what those ideas are, because we want to figure out what's working and what doesn't before we decide on changes and make.
Yeah, because we can speculate all day, but at the end of the day,
yeah,
you can't make that decision.
Right.
Like,
right.
we have
speculation
ideas.
is fun, but it doesn't actually get you anywhere until you can test your theories.
Nice answer. Okay. The next one comes from Jimus, probably said that wrong, 5709. How many characters are currently in the process of being made, and how many characters are planned to be playable online?
Okay, so we've had this question a couple of times. It's really exciting to know how excited you are about, as a community, about new characters. It's like the coolest and most fun and engaging part of design, and it's been really difficult to hold back on just throwing character ideas at you as a community, because it's such an easy way to get attention. But we're focusing on the 6 that we've talked about, and now I guess is a good opportunity to tell you about how characters get made. We have something called the production pipeline, and the way that works is characters get designed, and those designs get reviewed, and that's a pretty extensive process before a single character gets approved. For every character that gets in, we review like 6 to 12 kits that fill the niche that should fill the niche that we're trying to design for, and only after that extensive review process does one of them get reviewed, and then that kit gets split into like a simultaneous pipeline where the concept artists start sketching out ideas and the developers start building the kit functions into the game. And so simultaneously, while we're defining the art, we're learning the gameplay style and the strengths and weaknesses of the design, so that those two things can inform each other as it moves into modeling and implementation. And so we build the 3D models while we're putting the finishing touches on the abilities, and then those get merged into animation. So at current, the 6 characters are at various points in the pipeline. Matani is almost on the other side of it. Geist is up next because he looks easier to animate than the other ones. And then R4's model is done and needs some fresh rigging. And Kira's model is almost done and will be rigged next. And around that time, we should be finishing up Notch's concept art and putting him into the 3D modeling step of the pipeline. And then when Notch's concept art is wrapping, we will be getting Cake's concept art spinning up, so that when Notch's model is done and shipped off to rigging, Cake's model will be ready to start. And so that's the, oh no, what happened to Trin?
So Trin had to leave because of work stuff, but it's okay because we're still here.
Oh well.
But I wanted to touch on that a little bit, Fancy, because while you're right, we do things in an order. We have artists who they see a character kit they want to work on. They just have ideas. So we're like, okay, cool. Like, you're working on Notch and you're working on Cake. And so it's like really exciting to see just the hype people get when they, I guess, get the kit they want to work on. And so we are kind of getting 2 characters developed at the same time right now. So hurry up, Pat, so you can animate. I was kidding. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to
So,
move on to the next question?
That's the process. So we have a huge batch of questions from one of our new followers and patrons. Thank you so much. Mongoose? How do you prefer? His channel is the Mongoose. Go check him out on YouTube. I wish I had prepped a link, but I'm not that good.
I'll find one. Let's see.
So the first question was, will the characters have inertia? If so, how do you plan to display that visually? Distance matching and speed warping or animation blending? Inertia is a property of matter, and I assume physics question, which is like game physics are a very complicated beast. So I checked with him, and he said that this was about acceleration and deceleration on sprinting and stopping sprinting. So I think the question is mostly, is there going to be a momentum for movement, or will sprinting speeds be instant at stop and start? And that is a question for Trex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the answer really is, as of right now, like we've built everything extremely modular, extremely flexible. So the answer is really whatever we want. I believe that what we use right now is a little bit of acceleration and deceleration, and then what they call an Unreal Engine ground friction set to like the absolute maximum, meaning like, you can stop on a dime and turn or whatever. But to get yourself up to sprinting does take a small amount of time. And I believe also coming from sprinting back to walking or sprinting to standstill also has a little bit of like ramp down time. But those things can all be changed as much as we want. But we definitely, I think the ground friction is probably there to stay. We don't really like the feeling of like you're on ice skates or something like that. We like you turn, just is what it is.
Yeah. And as far as conveying that goes, we do have a place in our animation system for the startup and stop of sprinting to return to the idle. So you will see the character going through a brief period of speeding up and slowing down before it enters into the sprint loop.
Yep.
So I hope that answers your question, because that's about as well as I can answer it. Next question. Oh, damn, this was going to be Trin's.
Aw, Trin, no.
I'll ask it. Wait, Trin was green and you were blue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so will attacks be hit scan, projectile, or a mixture of both? Both. We already have all of those built into the game, and they work. Or at least they did last time around. Trex, they still work, right?
Oh yeah. That
Okay.
stuff is That stuff is safe to say. I guess that's the the one splinter of the boat that's like still there.
Can I answer a UI question really fast?
Absolutely.
Okay, I've seen it a few times, and it's like a question I've seen a bunch of times. People are kind of asking, curious if we're going to use like the gigantic UI option,
Like the HUD or the
like the health bars that are like the curved.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And my answer is that I built two UIs for abilities. One is with the health bars around the reticle, and one is the one you've seen in game. Our goal is to have options for people to switch between different UIs. Probably have to talk to Trex about that a lot more now, since it could be an option that we do at some point soon. I think at some point it was actually able to be toggled on in the game. But yeah, we want to make sure like UI things, we have a lot for people to kind of choose from, or things they're familiar with, or things that we come up with. Yay. Okay, cool. I think I answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, we know that like the gigantic community as a whole had very strong feelings on either side of the UI discussion. So we figured, why not both?
Yeah. Basically, I'm taking what I liked in their UI, and I'm like, take, and then use that to make our UI, which I'm hoping will be a lot more straightforward and less confusing. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So, we got 9 questions from Mongoose, so thank you for like so much detailed interest.
Here, I'll I'll
Okay,
ask this one since you. Okay. Will you be able to jump over persistent ground effects, or do they have an area above them? If they do have an area above, is it straight cylinder to the top of the map, or is it more of a? It's a good question.
I'm not. You cut out for me there for a second. So.
Oh, I did. Oh
yeah.
no. Basically, are the area of effect kind of like persistent effects going to be in a straight cylinder that go to the top, or are they going to be more of a dome shape?
Yeah. So they're going to be mostly domes because it generally feels pretty good to have your abilities not be jumped over, but also to not have them affect something that's super jump height. We have the capability to do stuff that only works when you touch it, and to do stuff that reaches to the top of the map. Stuff that only works when you touch it. I'm not sure how much that's going to play in because it's kind of a weird use case, but if it feels right for the character, we can build it. And stuff that extends all the way to the top of the map is probably going to be restricted to like ultimate level abilities just because of how strong that much verticality can be.
Yeah, and like something I want to add to that is that there are times when like you're playing a game and the VFX actually isn't clear for where the ability can hit you. We're looking at a lot of things that actually League of Legends does. They have a whole style guide for their VFX, really interesting. And we're going to be kind of using something like that to really define where you can get hit by an ability. So as we make our VFX, that'll be a thing that we take into consideration depending on the height. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Will you be using the gameplay ability system? Yes, Trex. If you haven't already, tell us about the gameplay ability, what it is, and what it does for our project.
Sure, I can like briefly reiterate. So the gameplay ability system is a model that was exposed recently in Unreal Engine 4, which is all about the management of multiplayer gameplay actions. Basically, any action you want to take that touches a server and a client, it can go through. It can be routed through this system. So it's relatively uncharted waters for new developers. Our programming team has spent a lot of time digging through the limited documentation that exists online, also heavily involved in the Discord, which is just a handful of people really that know about this thing. And then even digging into the source code and just like straight up reading like Epic's comments about it to gain like a pretty vast knowledge over it. And then basically our philosophy using it is that we already did all of that horrible, painful work. And so no future developer should ever have to know as much about that system as we do. And so we want to build an API layer on top of it that would be like sort of the Project Stamina gameplay ability system API layer that future developers would work within. So like as a very easy example, a future developer should never have to think like, okay, I'm writing this ability and it shoots a fireball, and when it connects, it applies a burn. So I have to make an effect for this burn and how much damage to do, blah, blah, blah. They should really just be able to call, a method or a blueprint node or whatever that says apply burn. And they just put some parameters in, they configure it up. A designer could do it even. And like, that's it, right? Like, in other words, we've abstracted the gameplay ability system to such a degree that we can just, if you were to read out the line of blueprints or the code from top to bottom, it would more or less read like a sentence, right? Like cast fireball connects, is target damageable, apply burn. That's the layer of abstraction that we're talking about on top of this system now. So it's taken quite a while, but the fruits of that labor are gonna be realized soon.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
In other words, it sounds like even I, with my potato programming skills, might even be able to just build a character by hand one day.
It's
possible.
Okay. Will a character's health be relative to the size of their hitbox? Will a big, easy to hit hero have a larger health pool? Short answer, yes. We might make a big, squishy character that is designed to be abnormally evasive size. Actually, Geist is kind of like that. But as a rule, we're taking hitbox size into account for balance purposes in general. Like, if you can be a wall for your teammate, you should probably be able to survive being a wall.
Probably. Oh, okay. Will there be a replay system? If so, when can we expect to see it implemented?
Yes, and no idea.
Yeah.
Trex, how much unique work it will go into a replay system? And are there any major pitfalls that you see making it impossible for us to do?
Yeah, that's a major ask. I do believe that there are some things in Unreal Engine built in for that. Um, Kind of a fun fact: the replay system does not do what most people think it does. It does not simply record the game and play it back to you, meaning like a video or something. What it actually does is it periodically records all of your actions and movements, and then plays those back to you. So meaning like if it sees a character move from like, location A to B and they were sprinting, it just has those two data points and then it just interpolates in between. That's why sometimes when you get see a replay in a game, like you'll see like some sort of weird, like janky stuff sometimes. But anyway, that functionality, I do believe there are modules and things in Unreal Engine that are exposed to us to use. That being said, yeah, no projected date for that. That's a huge feature ask, but certainly I would like to do it.
Yep. So maybe
Nice.
more like beta
Yeah.
than alpha, if not something that we shoot for on release.
So what version of the engine are you using? That's a pretty easy one. 4.20.
Yep. We've got some tools that might necessitate updating to a Unreal's on like 4.22, 3 now.
Yep.
But nothing that we're doing requires an update yet. But I should let you say this because I might be wrong here, but we've built like being able to keep up with Unreal's updates pretty well into our general workflow, right? Right.
Yeah. There are always quirky things like when you do a version update. And the dangerous part about doing it in a game is you can corrupt stuff. But I mean, obviously we have like really robust version control or whatever. So that's not a problem. Yeah, it's one of those things that like the second it becomes like a necessity, like I don't know, some new gameplay ability system stuff comes out, or I've heard a lot of good things about this Niagara VFX system. If like 4.24 comes out and it like has all those things in one and it really necessitates it, it's fine. What it usually just means really is that you're gonna have to like take probably a week or two of no development because you're just going to be slowly, meticulously making sure everything can be ported over. And we're just not at a point where, the weeks are all very crucial right now. So, yeah.
Nice. So
will
the
the game
game
be
be?
controller?
Oh, sorry.
I'm pink this time.
Okay. You do it.
Will the game be controller compatible? Yes. We already have limited controller capability. I'm able to like move around and look with the controls, but the actions aren't tied to it yet.
Yeah,
So,
they actually should be now, actually.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
Like
so
in the
one of
last few
the
builds.
Yeah. So one of the things that we worked on a lot was making sure the input system is like very, very robust. Meaning, not only like are all of our actions like mapped to something that is independent of whether or not it's a keyboard or controller, but also that they are like dynamic. Meaning that like our system right now, you can build like a what would you call it? Like a modular key binding system on top of it, and that would be like basically no problem at all. And in fact, every time you add a new action, it just automatically works now. We've got all kinds of like fancy input stuff now, so controller support is really like not a huge ask in my mind anymore.
And this wasn't part of the questionnaire, but it's something that's very important to me personally. Will we be able to customize which buttons do what actions?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that was another thing that probably in the previous builds, would have been a large ask, but is now not at all. Like basically, the way it works right now is that we read in, the settings that we've put into Unreal for the binds, and then it dynamically spins up how it's gonna use them. So the equivalent would just be like he would you would effectively just do that again, right? If somebody changed the bind, you would just say, okay, dynamically spin them up one more time. So yeah, we're basically already there.
Nice. Awesome.
It's awesome.
And that concludes questions from Mangoose.
Nice. Good questions.
Yeah, very good questions, actually.
Here, I'll.
Nope, there was one more. I missed it.
One more.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say it. Okay, ready? Will matchmaking take a player's ping into consideration? A very important question. So
Trex, that one's you.
yeah,
sorry.
you.
I wasn't sure it was answering. Yeah, so our matchmaking system. So it depends in which way you mean the question. If you mean like, in other words, if I'm playing in a certain region that has high ping, and are we going to try to match people with appropriate ping? That answer is yes. We use GameSparks, so we already get some of that actually. So that's already taken into account. And then I believe we also, I may be not telling the truth here, but I believe GameSparks also gives us, what would you call it? Like redirecting you to like the best possible server and all that kind of stuff, right? Meaning like if you're far away, it's got it all set up and that's all taken care of us in like a cloud network, basically.
Yeah. So we, thanks to the miracles of cloud computing, which are like relatively new technology that was not entirely available when Gigantic was being made. We are building a server matchmaking system that has access to a global network of servers. So say there are 10 people in Singapore that really like playing the game, they can get together at the same time and have matchmaking drop them into the server closest to their region so that their ping is lower than it would be if they were connecting to one in Australia or somewhere else on that side of the world. I apologize so much for my American education and geography. But yeah, that's what we're building for, is for anyone to be able to get access to a decent server provided they have enough players in their region.
Nice.
And that concludes questions from Mangoose.
Yay! Good job.
So, also people whose names start with M. Actually, here's a cool question. Will the game have the same ability upgrades as Gigantic? I assume you don't mean 1-to-1 because it doesn't have the same characters, but we are using a very similar system that we're going to show you more in the future when we start getting it built. And it was actually Trex here who provided the final design based on our design requirements for the system as we were looking at 3 different options that we went with. And we have that meeting recorded. It is part of our Patreon content. And if like listening to us talk for an hour about game design and making decisions about it based on gameplay experiences as objectives, then that is the kind of content that we have. So go check that out. It's $1 a month. Sorry, I have to shamelessly plug a little bit. It's kind of my job. But
Okay.
Great question. It's going to be very similar with some of the tweaks that we think will make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, upgrading characters, absolutely. That's happening. That was one of my favorite things about Gigantic. Ours is just going to be a little different.
Yep. And it's going to be a little different in a way that addresses some of the problems that some of the top Gigantic players had with the system. So we're not just making stuff up. We've got 2 of the top 10 Gigantic competitive players on our dev team. Failco is one of them. Goken is the other. We are so proud and happy to have them. Next question. Meowstorm asks us, will there be interaction voice lines between the characters, i.e. Kira having a specific voice line for when she kills an enemy Geist? Yes. That kind of stuff is fun and great and engaging, and it really, like, it's little details like that that bring the game world to life. And with the addition of our amazing sound person, Tricolor, we've started working on writing voice lines, and we've got an entire tab in the voice line script sheet for unique character interactions, and we're really looking forward to doing that. stuff because it's just so cool.
Like, we want these characters to feel like they know each other and feel like they're real, living in this world together. So
Yeah.
we have so many plans for this.
Yeah. And there's so few places where we get to actually tell the story of our game and of our world when the player interaction is almost entirely this piece of combat that is that is only a fraction of our characters' lives. So it's really important for us as storytellers to take every opportunity that we can to try and convey that content and that exciting, engaging game world that we're writing.
Do you want me to read the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one should be pretty easy to answer.
So, how is the gameplay going to differ from that of Gigantic's gameplay since it's a spiritual successor? Well, he says somewhat. I was not able to watch the last stream, so sorry if this is a question that was asked and answered.
Yeah. This was from PS1 Hagrid. Thank you for the question. So we get this a lot, and we've already kind of touched on it a couple of times, but it never hurts to go over it again. Most of the changes that we plan on making are quality of life stuff that we feel like Motiga never really had the opportunity to address because they were so busy trying to keep up with compatibility and keeping their servers online and keeping their dev team fed and their lights on at home at all. And most of the differences should feel very small and like natural progression quality of life changes that maybe could have happened in Gigantic had it had the time to keep growing. Oh, and the universal system mechanics based on the runes because it's really cool and we wanted it. That's like the biggest one probably.
Yeah.
Is the world made up or is it Earth? Says Myliwa _. It's made up. It is called Othala. It is not Earth. That's the answer.
Yeah. Good answer.
Speaking of the world, we have a question from Zay, another patron. Thank you, Zay. Does everyone in Othala speak the same language, or is it faction region based? Everyone in the game will speak the same language, probably, because it helps them have those fun, interactive conversations that make sense. But as far as the world beyond the gameplay goes, you have to wait and see as the story of the world unfolds. Like, it seems strange to make a world in which everybody everywhere speaks the same language, but if that's the shape that the world needs to take for narrative purposes, that could be. No definitive answer on that. We don't have a definitive answer. The world is still getting built, and that's not a question that we've nailed down. But probably, like, languages are cool.
Also, I just want to answer this one just to make sure everybody knows this. We're not reincarnating any heroes from Gigantic. That's an IP we can't use. We love it, but I don't know if you've seen R4, but you might get some vibes from him color-wise or other things. But Taito was my favorite character in Gigantic. Hint, hint.
Yeah, we're trying to capture the feeling of some of our favorite Gigantic experiences without doing one-to-one recreations, because we're making a new game and we believe that the path is forward, and like, we're not trying to recreate Motiga's work. We're trying to do our own work based on the wonderful work that they did.
Yeah, they're basically our reference, but it's all our own stuff, and it's great.
Yep. Next question.
Oh, you want me to read it? Or
yes, I probably should have said that.
All right. So Smart Cat by Elon Musk asks, are you going to focus on some of the smaller things, such as running animations and voice lines? I love some of the running animations from Gigantic. They really gave characters, character.
Yep.
That's how it was read. So I had to.
Yeah. As we said, we're going to be focusing on redialing in all of the characters' movement animations before we shift over to attack and ability animations, just because we know how important those little details are. And we already talked about voice lines. So I hope you remember that because it was like 2 minutes ago. It's we agree. Those fine details are so important because again, there's so few places where we have the opportunity to express who a character is and what they are about and what their place in the world is outside of the game. So we really have to take the opportunity to make those little details count. Smart Cat by Elon Musk also asks, is the game going to be free but have a system where you can buy characters with in-game and real money like Smite, or will it cost money and have all the characters unlocked like Overwatch? So we're planning on using the free-to-play model. It's just like it's where modern games are going, so it makes sense for us to not fight the trend. Unlike single release games, which use their returns from a launch to fuel a studio's next project, online games like ours require consistent revenue to maintain servers and continue development. And that is better achieved through regular online purchases or subscription models like Dota Plus or like the Fortnite Battle Pass. We're still working out a lot of how that's going to work in our world and in our game, but we know that like we know that putting a paywall just to get into the game is not what our demographic generally wants to see. So there would have to be some very major trends in how games get played and paid for us to make any plans to move away from the free to play model. And also, we're not going to use loot boxes in the awful like FIFA style because that actually there's plenty of reasons not to use loot boxes. I don't think that they are morally sound, and I fight against that idea if anyone on the team proposes it, but nobody has because we're all decent people.
How do you know? Sorry.
Because you're working for free on a passion project, really.
All right, let's see. Shall we answer this one question? This last question?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
last
Okay.
question.
So this is let's get one more stream from the chat. Taunt animations, that would be cool. It's a low
100%.
priority, but that would be super cool, and we'd love to get there. One
Like,
more
we
question
wanna-
from the chat. Has there been anything that jumped out as you, Failco?
I mean, as a follow up to like, you know, the question I answered before, there was another question like adding in like homages to different things about like Gigantic we liked or didn't like putting like a sign that says "Beware of frogs" or something. I can't lie. I'm probably gonna put something that reminded me of Gigantic in the maps. It might happen.
Like we're a bunch of diehard Gigantic fans that loved the game so much that when it got shut down, we said, "Fuck it, let's make a new one." Oh, excuse me.
Demonetized.
And like, there's no stopping us from putting our love from Gigantic into the game as long as we don't violate IP, which is, you know, so we're not going to violate IP, but like, I love Easter eggs. You all love Easter eggs. If we told you where we're going to put Easter eggs and what they're going to be, they'd be less fun. But
yeah.
Okay. When is the alpha? We do not have an announcement for the alpha dates yet. Sorry. Where we're like, we have an alpha ready environment, and now we need to stick in a couple of more characters to make it worth playing as an alpha, and then it'll be ready. So it is closer than it's ever been. And a whole lot closer than it was on our last stream. And not just because time has passed, but because we've hit the point where the amount of effort that we put in gives us a lot more returns. Somebody asked how tanks are going to work, and I think that's a cool one. We're still like we still haven't reached the balance and gameplay testing phase, which is what the alpha is going to be about. But our general plan is that tanks will have a lot of health and necessitate being answered as they make their presence known in a fight. And whether that is through heavy crowd control, strong support, or just like being large and in charge and doing enough damage that you have to sort of answer it, is pretty flexible, as long as you can't do more damage with a like robust character with a ton of health than you can with one that is like squishy and designed to do damage at a higher risk. Because that's not a tank, that's an imbalanced character with too much health and damage. As a follow-up, are you trying to make melee again? Are you trying to make heroes with defined roles like support, tank, DPS, or do you want more player control over the way a character plays? Yes, we want more player control. The general idea with our upgrade system is that you can take your character in a couple of different directions and really suit your character to your own play style and to the specific needs of a match based on your opponents and your team and the needs of your team. So nobody should feel locked into a single play style by their character choice. But if you pick Kira, you're not going to wind up being tanky, but you still have a couple of different ways that you can play the game. So we don't have any characters that can do everything because that's bad design, but we don't have any characters that can't do more than one thing either because that's also really linear design, and we're all about variety and character expression. And last question from the stream: are you guys going to take character ideas from the community? I have one word for you, Noah1224048, and that is cake. If you're interested about cake, hop on our Discord and tag any of our patrons and ask them about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Someone did ask about. Oh, sorry.
One thing about that, just a little bit. I just want to say, cake's great.
Yeah.
And it's the patrons, they pretty much get to see everything our wives we make first. So we're gonna show it on stream, but we can't do that. Patrons are gonna see cake stuff first. And then I swear the rest of the world's going to see the development too. It's coming along really well. I'm really happy. Tart's working on this, and I'm very excited about it. I should stop talking.
Yep. Actually, follow up. We do take some character ideas. When we had earlier version of Kira's kit out there, there was some very impassioned discussion over whether or not her kit felt cohesive in reading it. And based on that discussion, we agreed with a lot of your recommendations and feedback and retooled the kit. So yes, we do take ideas from the community. We're going to continue to take ideas from the community because, if you guys don't think a character is fun, then what are we doing? Trying to force it down your throats? Yeah.
I remember hearing that they didn't think Kira's kit was going to work, and I remember being so upset. I was like, oh no, they're right.
Yeah, we're not about to call you guys wrong for saying that something doesn't work. Unless we have tested it and gone, no, okay, this is actually really fun, and you guys just aren't seeing what we're seeing. But in this case, you guys were right, and no, cake has not been revealed yet. They're still actively in development, and true to leaving it up to the patron style, I'm leaving it up to them to figure out how that reveal works, because I do enough work already.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. So thank you guys so much for your stream questions. We're going to cut stream questions off there and close on one more question from a new member of the Discord. Okay, that's a fair question. How do you guys feel about a publisher? Anybody that wants to give us money and not take creative control of the project, great. But we've gotten this far without one, so I don't want one unless it turns out that it's a really good deal for us. Okay, so last question From Pantscata09475. I love the pants themed name. You're on the right track. Do you guys have any gigantic devs on your team? If not, did you try to reach out to them to see if they would help you make the game? And if you didn't, why not? We have spoken with a few gigantic devs, and we've been fortunate enough to receive some guidance and feedback in our efforts from Motigans as consultants. Everyone we've spoken to from Motiga about our project has been very enthusiastic about our work and has wished us the absolute best. We can't name names on some of the people that have helped us because they have moved on to new contracts with new studios, and they are concerned that even consulting work with another studio would put them at risk with their professional obligations. So we absolutely respect that, and we're not going to out anybody for helping us because that's not what we're about. But a lot of the sentiment that we've received from Motigans is that while Gigantic was an amazing and beautiful project, they've grieved its passing and moved on. Like, there are no Motigans working together on anything like that anymore. They've all gone in different directions. And it seems to me that working on something so similar to Gigantic would feel like a step backwards for a lot of people who want to move on to new pursuits in their career. Like, they already made the game. They don't want to do it again. Like, we're trying to follow in their footsteps. They don't want to walk the same path, is the impression that I get from who we've talked to. And I can't blame anybody for that because, like, they put a lot of really incredible, impassioned, dedicated work into that incredible game. And people showed up at work for weeks on end with no paycheck in sight because they felt that it was really important. And that's hard. That's really hard to live through. And as much as we say that that's amazing, like, we really, like, how many people have jobs? And then you out there who have jobs, think about showing up for weeks without a paycheck because you're so impassioned about the work. Like, it's just incredible what they
Dedication.
did. Yeah. And, like, we think it's really wonderful that they wish us the best. And we have a pretty open invitation to any Motigan that wants to collaborate to set their terms. And if they're terms that we can meet, we are happy to work with them. On that note,
Sorry, I'm really excited about this part.
yeah. We have a really exciting announcement that we can make on this topic. We've received permission to release one of our secret seals on the Tome of Hidden Knowledge that is Project Stamina. As people who follow our Patreon know, we have been putting a significant portion of the proceeds from Patreon into a marketing budget because we got to get the info out there. We have spent, or are spending, a chunk of that budget on a collaboration with Skew Sound, the sound designers and composers who made every single piece of audio in Gigantic. From the footfalls in the Foley to the menu clicks and hisses and all of that incredible dynamic music that made Gigantic so iconic. We are working with them on our alpha release trailer. We have no contract or plans with them to work on music in the game. I want to be very clear. They are not making music for in the game right now. They are working with us on our alpha trailer. And when that comes out, that is what you're going to hear. We felt it was incredibly appropriate to pass along the proceeds from our Patreon to the people that did the work that made our work possible. So anybody who wonders where the Patreon money is going right now, a lot of it is going to people who worked on Gigantic, and we couldn't be more proud of it. So
It's awesome.
The alpha trailer does not have a release date yet. It is something that we are actively working on. It is not done. We're not going to talk about it again, and we're not going to tell you anything more about it because we want it to be as fun and exciting and as much of a surprise as it can possibly be. But it's coming down the pipe, and it's real great. So that's what we're going to finish with. It's been almost 2 hours. So thank you so much for joining us. Friends,
Thanks, guys.
followers, Patreon pals. We're so excited for what's coming up next. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you on the next stream.
Okay,
See
Trent,
you
how do you
guys.
turn this thing off?